Hello, you're listening to Hugo Talks and welcome to another edition of Lockdown News Roundup. Upside Down World, unfortunately, is continuing the mixed messaging, the gaslighting from the government, saying one thing one day and then saying something else the next. Today we see Matt Hancock taking what Boris said, what with his roadmap yesterday, and saying, well, it will be slower than he says. See here on Sky News, it's on all of us. Matt Hancock warns easing lockdown could be slower than PM's timeline. See the trick? It's done, I think, to demoralise people. Yesterday, Boris gave you a crumb, the smallest of crumbs, and now today, Hancock, you're kind of taking that crumb away. The roadmap was shite. These people are full of shite. No point in listening to them. All of their announcements are just to extend lockdown. The only way you're going to get back to normal is if the public just don't comply and stand up to them. That's it. That's the position you've got now. Now, we've had Bill Gates saying that maybe, possibly, people will have to have a third vaccination, a booster. The unelected Bill Gates. Government have also mentioned it, that maybe or possibly this may be needed. Well, if you check the government's very own COVID Spring 2021 response document and go to you can guess, number 66, and you can see they are already planning a third vaccination campaign. It says here, preparing for revaccination, and it says on number 66, to ensure the country is prepared for these scenarios, and while further evidence is gathered, the government is planning for a revaccination campaign, which is likely to run later this year in autumn or winter. Any revaccination is likely to consist of a single booster dose of COVID-19 vaccine. The ideal booster may be a new vaccine, specifically designed against a variant form of the virus. Over the longer term, revaccination is likely to become a regular part of managing COVID-19. So there it is in black and white. If you are a person who is very keen to get your jib jabs, you're now going to be expected to have at least 3 this year, maybe more. And the third one will be a completely new concoction, it says here. And revaccination is likely to become a regular part of your life. And the idea is to get you all then stuck with passports that will allow you your freedom only once you get not only your vaccinations, but then your revaccinations every 3 months or every 6 months or whatever these people have planned. But you don't have to comply with this. I mean, surely people, you don't have to sign up to do this. You just don't do it. I mean, surely people can see how this is being played out. I mean, you've got to see this. Do you want to give up your freedom? Surely there are not that many meatheads and zombies out there that will literally just do this because somebody's told them to do it. Is there? Let's hope not. You remember yesterday I did a video about the kids now having to wear masks in corridors and classrooms in schools and how the psychological damage of this has not been taken into account. And they don't give a stuff about your kids. Well, here's some footage of Boris Johnson from August last year saying that kids wearing masks in the classroom is nonsense.
But not in the classroom, because that's clearly nonsensical. You can't teach with face coverings, and you can't expect people to learn with face coverings.
So within 5 months, this clown has gone from masks, you can't wear masks in the classroom, you can't teach, that's nonsense, to now, every kid should wear masks in schools, in the classroom and in the corridors. Again, these people are just puppets. That's why continually they contradict what they say because they get conflicting instructions. Talking of masks, I see this BBC article from yesterday. This is more mind control crap trying to normalise masks. That's what the BBC, the propaganda BBC, are doing with this article, trying to make a claim, a real crazy claim that masks, well, they've been around for ages. Look, mask forced London's 5 centuries of face coverings. Really? Have people in London been wearing face coverings in London for the last 500 years? All the time, have they? Never realised that. It then goes on to pick out some very obscure moments in history when masks were worn over the last 500 years in an attempt to make it seem like normal. Smog and the plague. I mean, it's a very clearly a desperate attempt at showing how masks have been used in the past and trying to convey that message that it's not that unusual to be stuck with a mask on your face all the time. That's the idea, brainwashing. Face masks are very important to the agenda that is going on, clearly. Look at this now, this photograph. How sad is this? Easter chocolate bunnies in production with face masks on. It's clear they are now attempting to normalise the face masks for the kids in school, but also for the younger ones. I know what I will be doing when I see these Easter bunnies with face masks on in my local supermarket, and let's just say I won't be buying them. In China, look at this, more madness for the clown world to lap up. We now have a nose covering. New nose mask reduces infection risk during meal times. That's a good look, isn't it? Doesn't look stupid at all. Oh, but it may save your life while you are eating a meal. Feck off. Is this an experiment to see how much they can get away with? And seriously, it does seem like that many of these news stories are literally trying to take the piss. I'm beginning to think that these governments are literally trying to get the population to rise up against them, and they are failing. Therefore, we have this ever escalating and more absurd stories appearing. Look at this from Canada. This tells you everything. Again, literally explaining stuff to the public's face. What would a path out of the pandemic look like? Experts say COVID will one day resemble the common cold. Oh, will it now? It says here, what if COVID-19 were no more menacing than a common cold? That's what researchers from Emory and Penn State universities predict will happen once most of the population becomes immune. In a recent study published in Science magazine, scientists looked at clues from COVID-19's closest relatives to model a best guess at the virus's future. Their forecast: the pandemic will come to an end, but we will never be rid of COVID-19. The virus will continue to circulate long term, but most people will be infected as young kids when their bodies are primed to fight off unknown pathogens, experiencing mild symptoms, if any. Older people currently at high risk will have built up immunity through exposure, so if they get infected again, it's unlikely to be serious. Make of that what you will. I see that establishment shield Piers Morgan has had 1,200 staff write an open letter to ITV over allegations of bullying. Now, Piers, on his best days, come across as an objectionable, hypocritical, disgusting, arrogant waste of space, and it seems this is how he is off-screen and behind the scenes as well. Piers Morgan has been accused of bullying in a letter signed by nearly 1,200 people working in the TV industry. That's not a drop in the ocean, is it? 1,200 people all working in the industry. This fella must be an utter nightmare, a demon to work around. The letter comes after the Good Morning Britain presenter targeted a former colleague of his, Adil Amini, on Twitter. In a tweet posted on the 18th of February, Morgan wrote that he would rather employ a lobotomized aardvark than work with Amini again. He said, "You spent precisely 2 months working on Life Stories in 2010, and judging by your CV, that was the pinnacle of your TV career," he said. Morgan's post followed one by Amini in which he said he would not work with Morgan again after his experience on Piers Morgan's Life Stories as a researcher. Now, in a letter to ITV bosses Carolyn McCall and Kevin Ligo, a collective of TV workers said they were appalled that Morgan is directing targeted abuse towards a freelancer. As freelancers working within television, we feel responsibility to speak out against bullying and harassment wherever we see it, including from on-screen personalities who are all too often poorly reprimanded for unacceptable behaviour and harassment, the letter said. The 1,188 signatures who were not named included TV freelancers, commissioners, executive producers, CEOs and heads of department. But it seems ITV had just brushed this off. They said, "Our firm understanding is that in this instance, the tweet in question was not accusing Piers, propaganda Piers, of bullying and harassment. Whilst working on Life Stories, having spoken to both parties, there is therefore no internal investigation." It seems like ITV just going to brush this under the carpet. But 1,200 people? This ogre, this propaganda Piers, is obviously very well connected. But on the positive, it's good to see 1,200 people, his contemporaries, people who work in the same industry stand up and unite against him. It shows people can be brave and not turn the other cheek and not ignore the obvious. As always, thanks for listening. Come and subscribe to hugotalks.com. It's the only place I get to keep the subscribers. If YouTube delete this channel, I lose all the subscribers. So if you are going to subscribe, do it at hugotalks.com, and I'll see you later.